Welcome. This is Group 3's first presentation video. The purpose of this video is to discuss the population, trade, and infrastructure of each nation and how it has impacted their development and the region they reside in. The four countries are located in the central region of Europe. Poland's northern border has access to the Baltic Sea, which has immensely impacted its development and economic growth, which we'll touch upon later. Switzerland, Austria, and Slovakia are landlocked, and it is important to note that Poland and Slovakia have a more fragile geographical spot than the other countries because they border Ukraine, who has been under Russian attack for just under 2 years now. Out of this region, the country boasting the largest population is Poland, with a population of just over 40 million. This makes it at least 5 times more populous than other countries and about 8 times smaller than the United States. Poland boasts one of the highest growth rate percentages in the region at 0.88%, just behind Slovakia's at 0.9%. In respect to age, Poland is the youngest at 41.9 years old compared to Austria's, which the oldest median age is 44.5 years old. The large population of Poland, high yearly growth rate, and young average age supports the growth and development of Poland, specifically in regard to its large workforce. Since the population of Poland is so high, it shows how patriotic the country has become. This is also shown in the representation of their flag. The Polish flag is directly associated with the country's coat of arms, which was created as the first as the settlers came to Poland. And the flag wasn't accepted until 1919, when the country regained its independence from Russia after World War II. In this region, Poland is the top importer and exporter of our four countries. Their imports and exports have both reached into the billions, showing continuous growth. The imports have a trend of ascending the exports, causing the trade balance of the country to be in the negatives. Germany contributes the most to the country's imports and exports, while the Czech Republic and China follow close second. Their top trade partners are all associated with the European Union and hold strong relationships with one another. Poland is a strong producer of vehicles and electronics, as well as importing lots of their vehicles, their parts, and crude petroleum products. Poland's trade represents the amount of importance the country has placed on the development of its infrastructure. They want efficiency within their country, and they have lots of new plans to develop their intelligent transport system, which is currently under the EU funding scheme. Poland plans to invest $70 billion in railways and $36.6 billion in road infrastructure due to increased travel within the country. This will include e-toll navigation satellite system. Along with building new roads and railways, a brand new international airport will be built due to increased air passenger traffic, launching in 2028 at an estimated $9 billion. The infrastructure is also impacted by their Baltic Sea access. It has been a huge asset to their trade influx and exports. Recently, with the war in Ukraine, Poland has been taking measures to protect their nation, such as building the concrete channel pictured to avoid waters controlled by Russia. Along with Poland, Austria has similar significance to developing their country's flag. Both have derived their flags from the colors associated with the perspective coat of arms, which is almost identical to one another, being a spread eagle with a crown. Austria's flag symbolizes their freedom and independence following World War II in 1945. Austria relies on Germany and Italy for the majority of its imports and exports, as the trio of country depends on each other for economic growth. Many cars are made in Europe, and thus one of the top products that Austria imports and exports. Top brands include Aston Martin and Mercedes, which are often sent between Austria and Germany. Austria's medical personnel is also top-notch, with the country producing massive amounts of pharmaceutical drugs and boosters. In fact, many countries that require many of these vaccinations for children to attend public school. As the graph depicts, the country has continued to thrive, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, and has been mass-producing vaccines and car parts during this shortage in America. All of this reaping immense benefits on the country's economy. Austria has well-developed and organized infrastructure with modern highways to connect cities and neighboring countries. Railways are common roads of transport, and the Vienna airport is a popular method of transportation for the country and foreign nations around it. Vienna is the most populous city and has an important impact on the economy. Since the Iron Curtain's fall in 1989, Vienna has become a gateway to Eastern Europe, hosting 300 international companies' headquarters. This shows the nation's ability to successfully engage in foreign relations. Austria's exports and imports are growing. Austria and the U.S. have fostered a supportive and cooperative economic relationship, and it is one of the fastest growing sources for U.S. foreign investment. And the leading sectors for U.S. exports and investment are medical devices, pharmaceuticals, tourism, cybersecurity, and education and training. They have a high consumerist society and are engaged in a lot of electronic communication e-commerce, with top retailers being Rui and Lidl. Switzerland is known for its unique flag with a red background and a white cross in the center. Unlike Austria and Poland, this flag is not associated with the country's coat of arms, but can be related since it was developing during war times. The cross made it easy for the Swiss to distinguish from one another on the battlefield and was declared the national emblem in 1848. Switzerland relies most heavily on the U.S. and Germany for trade, as these countries make up most of its imports and exports. Gold is essentially essential to the economy because it is both the #1 import and #1 exported product in the country. Switzerland imports and refines golds before exporting it again to countries all around the world. Additionally, it has very strict laws regarding medications, meaning that the medicines they are able to trade must be determined to be safe. putting these meds at high demand among other countries, making packaged medicines another essential import and export of Switzerland. As a smaller landlocked country, Switzerland relies heavily on air transportation to support their economy. Having multiple airports in major cities such as Basel, Geneva, and Zurich provides access to international trade via the 237 international destinations that they serve, which is the most out of these four countries. This allows Switzerland to engage in distant trade with countries, especially the US, explaining why the US is one of its top importing countries as well as its top exporting countries. In addition to transportation, Switzerland has high developed roadways and railways throughout it that allow for easy travel among neighboring countries. Switzerland is one of the leading European countries in online purchases and is very engaged in e-commerce, and most of the population has access to the internet. It has well-developed infrastructure, encourages regular online shopping as it allows for easy movement of products among cities and countries. Like Poland, Slovakia got inspiration from their coat of arms when it comes to development of their flag. The coat of arms is in the left corner of the tricolored flag, which represents the pan-Slavic nations representing unity. Similar to Poland, Austria, and Switzerland long after World War II, it added the coat of arms to the flag to represent their independence. Slovakia's top trade partners are mainly in close proximity and consist of Germany, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and France. Slovakia's trade is dominated by automotive and electrical products, and the leading sectors for U.S. exports and investments are mineral fuel, oil, nuclear reactors, and machinery. Slovakia's stable macroeconomic policies make it a good nation to trade with. Its transportation system is well organized, however, some of it is aged. Most individual transportation is done by vehicle, and Slovakia does not have a national air carrier, but with its capital only 30 miles away from Vienna, that is a common way for transport. Most communications are electronic and Wi-Fi is widespread throughout the country. Current e-commerce is at nearly 80% penetration, and the retail network is headed by Tesco with over 152 stores and 10,000 employees, and other popular retail employers include Lidl and Metro Cash and Carry. All four countries share frequent trade relations with the United States as discussed earlier, yet there are certain treaties that involve certain countries with the US more often. All of these countries are members of the WTO and GATT while making important decisions as part of the EU. Poland and the United States share a strong relationship when it comes to trade and trust. This is due to the fact that the US puts a lot of importance on fostering economic security and prosperity within Europe, as well as human rights and economic growth. Through the effect of NATO, the United States has been able to help Poland in many different ways through their bilateral treaties and double tax treaties, which allows the US to do business in Poland at a relatively low cost with a knowledgeable workforce and not having to pay the tax for both countries. In 1955, these four powers and the Republic of Austria signed the Austrian State Treaty, which ended the occupation and declared Austria to be a free, independent, and neutral state. The U.S. played an essential role in this in the country's reconstruction. Since post-World War II, the U.S. and Austria have enjoyed strong relations. The two share no direct treaties, yet a plethora of agreements that benefit both parties. The framework for all of its yearly meetings between high-level executives to lay the foundation for correct cooperation between both parties and discuss important issues such as anti-money laundering efforts, counterterrorism, regulatory cooperation, and intellectual property rights. The bilateral investment treaty lets Slovakia participate in the visa waiver program, which allows nationals of participating countries to travel to the U.S. for a certain business or tourism purposes for 90 days or less without obtaining a visa. So each country has a different way that they are affected by trade. Their trade balances directly reflect the difference between exports and imports. These numbers highlight the countries with major surpluses or deficits. As you can see, Switzerland has stayed within the positive for the past decade, where other countries have seemed to fall short. This means that Switzerland is earning more from its exports than the other countries seem to be losing more or spending more on imports. Austria is on a linear decline toward the negative, importing more than exporting. Poland is rising towards the positive, exporting more than importing, and Slovakia started to gain more exports, but had a sharp decline around 2015 and continues to drop, importing more than exporting. These Central European nations harvest unique characteristics among their demographics, infrastructure, and trade that have allowed for growth domestically and globally. Poland boasts the youngest and largest population in the region. There is a promising economic development with their large workforce. Its access to the Baltic Sea has been transformational to their trade. In Austria, its highly developed infrastructure, specifically in the city of Vienna, has been a dominant force in its economy. Austria is highly connected to the world through its international airport and hosting of Eastern European countries' headquarters. In Switzerland, while it's a small landlocked country, it is highly developed. It has many international connections and robust economies in its major cities. Lastly, in Slovakia, they are specialized in automotive and electronic industry. With their stable macroeconomic policies, it has been a favorable place to trade and has led to successful business with U.S. exporters. The potential in this region can be supported by the population's development and trade in the region, making it a solid area to engage in foreign relations and